Well, we had a little bit of news today in the PWHL. The expansion guidelines and rules came out, so we have to plunge right into this. So, welcome on in and say hello to Curtis Martin, fellow writer with me at the Hockey News. Hi, Curtis. How are you today?
I'm doing great, C. I'm looking forward to this very interesting and at some point for fans, sad conversation we're gonna have about what's gonna go on with all six teams and also what these two new expansion franchises could look like.
Yeah, I think it's a good day to be a new fan of Seattle and Vancouver. I think even one of their social posts was like, sharpening the pencil and lots for them to look over. But overall, the reaction has been not great on social media, or at least, a lot of concern and you know, quick reactions. What have you seen so far, and what do you make of the social media reaction, which is always overblown?
Like you say, because of that, I try not to base my opinion off of social media. I'll go off of just my initial reaction because it's a Victoria Day Monday. I kind of slept in a little bit and woke up to the email that got sent out to us as media, and I was, we were told at the press conference with Gina and Troy, the end of year press conference, that it was gonna be very friendly and it was gonna go towards, making everyone put everyone on an even playing field. Sorry, um, and they were not kidding because each team's really, when you look at it, only gonna get three players, which is unheard of when it comes to the NHL or any other hockey league, probably even any other expansion. When you look at it, only three players will be able to be protected, which I mean, I guess is good for league because it's going to have us talking. It's going to create chaos. And I mean, my first thing is I feel bad for every current GM that's been announced that is in this league
Right.
because you spent for I think for all of them, yeah, all of them. They spent mostly all of them. They've spent 2 years building up this team and then their teams, and now they're gonna get torn apart in what, less than 2 weeks from now?
True. Yeah. It's if you look at it from a fan perspective and a GM and the folks who work behind the scenes that there's a lot of number crunching that goes into this, and Seattle and Vancouver get to cruise right in and go, well, that's a good contract, and just kind of take it. But yeah, that's definitely one of the reactions that makes this a little uncomfortable. And then it's just that low number. I never expected three. I was hoping, as you know, I'm more of a sentimentalist. I was hoping like maybe seven, six, so that you could keep those big names. But then as we worked through it, that didn't leave the parity that the league definitely stresses. So it had to be lower, but three, just
But I do want to, sorry to cut you off, I do want to say that we've had conversations in the press box that are various, but I want to point out to you and everyone listening that I vehemently disagree with how low this number is on like an opinion basis. I think it's very silly that only three players can be uh can be protected. I
protected.
know I know only four players can get picked from each team. But like when you look at some of the players that are going to be available in this, it almost made you wonder why we were even speculating around
Yeah.
like what these teams should be doing draft wise last year, or like even going
Yeah.
back to year one about criticizing the picks. And then I think for myself personally, one of the more underrated players for this Scepters team during the playoffs was Haley Skamura
Hmm.
and what she brought. And if you're Seattle or Vancouver and you look at a player that can play a 200-foot game and also bring you something offensively, I'd be picking Haley Skamura. And she probably even like in a good scenario for these teams wouldn't even be protected then. But then you add like a Emma Malte. I mean, we should get into it, but
Yeah.
like even Emma Malte
Well,
might be exposed.
yeah, that's where, you think of some of the fan favorites, and the big names are the big names. Marie-Philippe Poulin is going to be protected. Don't worry about that. But, a player like Emma Malte, some of the players that are just under that superstar are often the fan favorites. Your Gabby Hughes or your Aaron Ambrose. They're popular and people really have a fondness for them. And those are the players that are right in the firing line By the way, Skimura is a free agent anyway, so that was kind of a one season swing that,
I'm interested to see if she gets picked up in that. We'll talk about the rules, but
yeah,
the
yeah. So it casts some of that. Like I had thought the free agents would be more significant for expansion teams, but now I think that kind of rolls them back to like everybody's on the same kind of playing field when it
unless
comes to competing for them because everyone's going to grab their big names and then your Cavas and Tapanis and whatnot aren't automatically just going out west because those teams are going to have some of those big dollar contracts too on the books.
I'm sure like you and me, we weren't the only ones confused a little bit about that window, but
Very.
the fact that like you can go to a Tapia or you can go to a Hannah Miller or you can go to I don't know, name anyone that isn't going to be protected here and talk to them about, are you interested in moving out west? Is this a city that would interest you? I think that helps you. And I think it should help you as a team too, because if you're, let's say you're Gina or any other GM in this league, you can talk to your players after that window to be like, hey, how do you feel about Seattle? Like Seattle reached out to you. You didn't end up agreeing to have them pluck you, which is maybe plucking's not the right word,
No, it
but
is. It feels like that. It's such a violation. But they've already submitted their protected list. So like, I mean, I think like a Jennifer Gardner, Kayla Barnes are great examples too, because Jennifer Gardner being from Vancouver, you would all but expect that Vancouver would at least have a conversation with her. I
and
would
a really
have to,
young player.
yes, and signed for one more year. So prime candidate to be taken. And probably Vancouver would love to have her, even just a little bit more than Seattle would, just because. So that conversation is probably going to happen. And we were under the impression that this was only for free agents, but it's any unprotected player. So the language wasn't really, really clear. It's a sign or agreement period. So you can go to Jennifer Gardner and say, do you want to come out here? If she says yes, you do some kind of formal, we've got her because she's already signed. So you just put her on your roster. So that's kind of a little wrinkle for that little 5-day window but then that allows Montreal to know, okay, Gardner's gone. They add another player, Kayla Barnes or whatever, to their protected list. So like the dominoes are going to be falling quickly, or at least, decisions are going to have to be made really. You're going to have to kind of know the scenarios ahead of time. What if this, then we're going to want to protect that player. Oh, not to mention you're also going to have an entry draft where you're going to have to kind of try to make up for some of your losses very
I
quickly.
think I think this is the best year if you're a rookie. Like if you're one of those rookies that get, or I mean, I shouldn't
Last
say they're
ye's,
all
you mean
no,
the Caleb
this,
Bar, the
like I'm
upcoming
saying this,
rookies?
yeah, these rookies coming in, because you're gonna have 6 teams look at their roster that's gonna be on some level completely different and are gonna look to fill holes. That's okay. I think that's the like maybe the underlying interesting thing is how teams go about addressing the losses. Are they gonna just
Yeah.
jump right in and pick players that exactly fit their need, or are they gonna look at the most talented players? That's what's gonna be so interesting about the draft too, is the actual like entry draft will be, how the teams attack it. Are they attacking it for value? Where, maybe a team loses 3 defensemen, but you have a forward at the top of the draft you really like? Or are you attacking it in the sense that like I need to fill those 3 spots defensively? Or
I know.
because like I think another
This is
big
going to be a
top
2.5 hour podcast as we like think through, like you could go down these rabbit holes and like, sorry to step on your point, but like as you're saying that, I'm thinking that and I'm thinking of Montreal specifically because they've got one of the best goaltenders that they have to protect, Debian. They've got one of the best forward that you have to protect, Poulin. Do you protect Stacy? A lot of people are like, you kind of have to. But then people are like, no, 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 protect Ambrose. Other people are like, Barnes is on an extra year of the deal. So you got things like that. But I mean, they've also got Katie Tabin, who's a free agent, Mariah Keppel, who's a free agent. So their D is definitely going to be affected. So what's my point? It's just that, you know, our expansion team's gonna maybe just really target that because they can decimate many of the six teams decor from just the way it looks. So then is D at a premium when you're in the entry draft? You know, do you suddenly your draft rankings change a little because all teams are, I think all teams really needed depth defensemen anyway.
I
So
think, but not to step on your point there, but I think just to add to your point, I think when you look through this league, what has been the one position that has moved and made the biggest deals in this league? It's defensemen.
yeah,
Like, look at the only two trades, like only trade year one, defenseman involved in that. Cheyenne
yikes.
Darkangelo goes. And then you go to this year and the big blockbuster involved 2D. I think that will be a position at this point that teams can never get enough of.
Yep.
Like, I think it was also telling that, like, you know, a team like Toronto held on to Bernard and McKinnon as long as humanly possible before putting them onto their reserve list because they knew how valuable of the depth defensemen they had, and they would roll seven because they didn't want to
Mhm.
lose one. And then look, what was it? 2 weeks after they put Bernard on the reserve roster, New York came by and picked her up
And
because
then they ended up
right,
trading a forward to get Anna Shelby because, and she was their sixth defenseman. Like they really rolled pretty thin on the back end, and you know, you can. I think depth forwards can be more interchangeable. I'll just put it that way. Because for defenders, their handedness and their
do you,
experience, you know, is just it
that's
really shows up in the playoffs.
that's why I also said, like, I think we talked about it over text this morning, and I said to you that, I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, that's not my pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if a Megan Carter on Toronto gets protected because she's one of the few defensemen besides Barnes, I think, this year that really came into the league and was a pro-ready defenseman that you could put on your top pair, could put on your second pair, could play offensively. I mean, she didn't score this year, but we know that she has that ability. And then
Hmm.
also could play a 200-foot game. Like, how many rookies coming out of college could you say that about? I don't think many people in this league have shown they can do that. Granted, we're only in year two of a league, but like, so then that asks you the question is like, can you replace? Can I like the conversation we had? Could I replace a Megan Carter easier than I could replace a Julia Gosling?
Yeah, I
That's
know.
all. That's the ultimate question.
That's
Like
an
when it comes,
interesting, yep. Julia Gosling, you know, the first round pick and huge potential. Megan Carter, I mean, every team just plain has fewer defenders, so that makes it a bigger position. And quality defenders, I think, are at more of a premium. And even though just like player for player, I like Julia Gosling a little more, but putting them in, you know, where they fit and what you need, you'd have to say Carter is more important to a roster.
yeah, Carter. Like maybe you can disagree with me here, but I think Carter's a bigger hole to fill
Right. Yeah,
than
that's
Julia
the other way
because
to
I
say
feel
it.
like
Yeah.
because I feel like let's say in this scenario, Izzy isn't picked up, which I think is another would be a mistake. But let's say that someone takes Julia Gosling, but Izzy Daniels is left alone because of whatever. Someone wanted a goalie from Toronto, or someone wanted something else, and Toronto already had their four players taken. It She could fill that role. She
Yeah.
has that same potential. She's a
Hmm.
former Patty Kazmaier winner. She's shown at times the offensive flair. I don't think there's anyone else on the roster because, as you know, I'm a big Rylan McKinnon stan on in the media corps. That was someone I was thumping the drum about ever since she was invited to camp, and I think it was my only correct prediction this year that she would make
Yeah.
that roster over other people, which I mean just shows her ability. But like even someone like that, it's like you look at her and you're like, well, if I'm Vancouver, that's a BC product. Went to UBC, brings a lot of things that not many defensemen can in this league. Like how many defensemen are near 6 feet tall, have the wingspan that she does, and can play the body like she can? Like that combination is so rare. And so it's gonna leave like those spots of like what do you value more? Do you value goaltending? Because I think that's defense and goaltending are gonna be the most interesting things because
Yeah.
like we were talking about right before this, does Boston protect Frankel? there's a lot of players that rightfully deserve to be protected that are good enough quality players. I would argue that like a Boston or Montreal, you know, if they known down the line what this was going to look like, that they maybe wouldn't have prioritized goaltending as much because they known that a goalie would have gone picked up. Like the only thing I can say about Toronto going to the scenario that gives them the upper hand is I don't want to be mean to Kristen Campbell because
No,
she's
it
she's
has to be
she's
said that that's actually
she
a
has
reverse
struggled
advantage. Yeah, they'll expose her, and whether she's picked
and
up or
not.
not, it's okay,
Do
right?
you think do you think if she gets picked either in that window or on the draft that Gina or Troy loses any sleep? I don't.
No, it's so let's okay. So this is where you think through. Okay, so if they expose her, I don't think she gets picked up during that window because they're gonna wait and see.
I
They're
wonder
gonna
if
go for
Julie
like the
does.
ones that they really want. But so I don't even think Campbell gets picked, period. I think it's a good opportunity to expose a player that you're not going to lose.
I
I
I
would,
haven't done this thought process yet, so maybe you could help me out here. But like, who did you have the like in a world where there was a bunch of because I know we talked about this beforehand that you did your rosters for if what did you do the
I think
scenario
I had
six?
seven, 6 or 7. So I was
But
like,
like, but still, like even in that scenario, what the goaltending was pretty good on both the teams that you had selected, right? Because like Truly was a starter,
Chuli and Rooney and
and
Peslarova. Yeah, I did. I kind of did my own mock thought process, and yeah, the expansion teams ended up definitely on the lesser side, but there still were some goalies. There are a lot of goalies, and it's interesting to me. Do you? I don't think you protect Reagan Kirk, but like you got to
you,
have a goalie. You got to have
you,
a goalie.
you know what I was just thinking about? What does Montreal, what does Ottawa do?
Oh my God, they've got so many
Like,
defenders that they almost just have
well,
to throw darts at a wall. Like
okay, I don't.
Terlova, Ashton Bell, Savalainen, who's the other defender who's on there? I mean, the
I
Rock they're
think
going to expose, but like,
I think Montreal's or I think Ottawa actually the more I think about this might be the most interesting team because when you think about it, you have a couple big decisions. Are you exposing Mashmeyer, who is an Olympic quality goaltender that has a proven track record? Sure, she is on the let's say the back nine of her career, or do you pick Gwen Phillips? Recent standout for Team USA, doesn't have the experience, but also led you to a playoff berth and now has led you to a finals. Like you could see a world where they're in their three picks, Gwen Phillips is one of them. Because how are you, like with the way it's set up, how
how
if
do you
I'm Vic,
not? How do
how,
you like?
if I'm Seattle, how do you not pick up the phone to Gwen Phillips and be like, "We'll extend your contract. You are our starter. There's no question. Like we don't care what other goalies we pick up. You are our number one." Like that would be like I could not question them if they did that because that's a smart decision. I know some people might be like, well, they're putting their eggs into a basket on a small sample size, but the sample size has been at the highest level.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good. I think she's protected. I think even though goaltending can be wide open and you can, if everybody doesn't throw the shutters open, then you don't want to be the one that did and is left without the goaltender, right? So I think Montreal protects Debian. I do think Boston protects Frankel because she's just,
Well, do you
hopefully her injury's okay and she's just integral to that team. She's won them games. I think New York protects Schroeder and I think Ottawa protects Phillips.
I think the most no-brainer there is New York protecting Schroeder. Like Schroeder and Villiers are the core of that team.
Well, here's the interesting thing about Fillier, though, and like they will. We're not gonna, please
But then
don't.
the question is it Alex Carpenter or Ella Shelton is your third?
Right. But okay, with Fillier, she's a restricted free agent. So they protect her. She's probably only going to want to sign a 1 year deal, and then she's a free agent immediately after. So do you Yes, you do. But there's a world where you don't protect her because you're like, we're protecting 1 year of Fillier, whereas maybe we can protect 2 years of Carpenter and Shelton and Schroeder. I
See
don't know.
the
That's crazy talk, I know, but like these are the things you have to think through. Like, what's good for my franchise? And knowing that, like, in next summer, it's just going to be start over. Just
well, this summer is going to be start over.
well, almost. Yeah, this summer's going to be like everyone just move to the left and get to know everybody new, and then the next summer just musical
N-
chairs again,
Next time I talk to Gina, I want to ask her how does it feel that you had to build a team from scratch basically twice?
basically. So let's talk the evil genius part of Toronto's roster, and the only thing that's making us maybe not feel so bad that we're going to lose some really darn good players. But it's the Spooner and the Daryl Watts situations, which being, of course we're Toronto homers, don't add us or anything, but let's talk about
Well,
that because
I
we
don't
both
think
we both kind of agree there's little evil genius going on there.
there's okay. I think we have to get Spooner out of the way because she's the easiest. She has a family here,
Yeah.
and Toronto's gonna pay her good money to stay.
And she's
So
what, 33, or
she's not
she
going
could
like
retire. She would definitely rather retire than move. I
I mean
think.
she's her family. I'm pretty sure her family's based in is it London? And
Yeah, I think they have been.
she's
She's from Scarborough, but she's not going anywhere. Like I can
and
say that with
she
100% confidence. She's staying. She's just not even going to look at signing anywhere, and I don't think they'll even approach her. So that's sort of like lucky break number one, just like it
and
was in the with the compassionate circumstances. That was a lucky break.
and I also think like her whole team that's been bringing her back from this grueling injury
Yeah,
is based in the GTA slash Southern Ontario.
yeah.
So why would she also, this is another point we haven't talked about. If you're a player with injury history, why would you sign yourself up to make those road trips out of the West Coast? Like
Mm,
if I'm a spooner, a nurse, like
fair
I'm
enough.
obviously
Yeah.
they're not signing up for it. They're getting
Evil
taken.
genius plan coming together. Go ahead.
I don't know why they would do that. Like I don't know why you would say in that period, "Oh yes, take me. I want to go to you. I
Well,
want
yeah,
to be."
they might not have a choice, but it might be also a reason that a team maybe just wants to look in another direction. Like all things being equal, would you take Emma Malte or Sarah Nurse? Like maybe you feel like Emma Malte is just a little younger and just
If you
for all
if
the
you want to
reasons.
if you want to hear my hot take,
Okay.
do you think that Emma's genuinely that big of a loss to this team?
Well, don't make me go there.
Because like okay, in the grand scheme of things, like we talked about, forwards are going to be less valuable. There's going to be more in this
She's
draft.
not going to be protected, so she's gone. Let's
She
just
do we want to go through quickly who we're protecting?
yeah, let's because we're going all around it. So let me read it real quick, or do you have it in front of you as well?
I have mine in front of me too. I have it on a post-it note right here. Who
Okay.
I'm protecting.
We're gonna do Toronto and Montreal just speak, and maybe we can do Ottawa too, just if we have time. But yeah, so we've got 13 players under contract. One is an RFA, which is Anna Shelbine, but she counts as, has to be protected or not, but that doesn't matter.
That's semantics.
Yeah,
I
semantics,
I I
technicalities.
I don't think in this
I don't think that's a big issue.
yeah, I don't think under these rules anyone was protecting her, and that's no
Yeah.
disrespect to her.
So, yeah. So, do you want to give your three, and I'll I'll give my three, and then let's talk about sort of who we think definitely gets plucked.
Yeah, I think fast Turnbull are the two easy ones. I think Turnbull as your captain is one of the reasons, but the other reasons are that because I mean, letters have not been safe on this team. Jocelyn the Rock has went out the door. That's not the reason why I'm going to say Turnbull. It's just a factor. Turnbull is the one player on this team, like we talked about before recording. It's like if I went into game 5 and I needed a player to help me on every end of the ice, all 200 feet of the ice on this team, I'm looking at Blair Turnbull. Like there's so many times where like over the last 2 years I've just been able to watch her and you
Right.
look at the little things that she does that you're like no one's gonna notice that, but she just hip checked that player and did it so effectively that she separated her from the puck and then turned it the other way. Like little things like that, you have to keep her around. And
I'm
then
glad you're saying that because I've heard I've heard a couple people say, I think she's 30 as well, but like I the more and more I've watched her, it's like you can't lose a player like that. She is heart and soul, glue, great leader, great person. She helps the younger players and she plays the right way, blah blah blah. So
and I
she's
think the
I agree
I
with
think
you
the
so far. So who's your third though? Who
so but I also do want to add to the Turnbull
uh-huh.
point that a person that Troy talks about as being his assistant coach jokingly is Blair Turnbull.
Yeah.
Like with a Julia Gosling or even a Jesse Confer in year one, who was the person always on the ice having side chats with those younger players? It's Blair Turnbull.
They
She's like their fifth coach.
Yeah, and Gina told me as well that, at the end of the first season, almost every player unprompted volunteered that they were so impressed and glad to have Turnbull as the captain. So that just goes a long way. So she's definitely on my list. So who else do you
And
have?
then Fast is an easy one. She's at worst, she's a top three defender in the league for me. At worst, she's a top three defender. At best, she's the best defender in the league.
Right.
At worst, she's a top three. You could the top like five are all semantics. Like they're all around the same. You could argue like the two Thompson and Sophie Jakes
Jakes.
and
Yeah.
in uh in Minnesota, and you could even throw Ella Shelton in that mix because I know it's tough. She got the love last year, but it's also tough being on that New York team when you're the only
She's
defender.
no, she's so valuable. I'm a big fan. Okay, so your three are
So,
Fast,
Turnbull,
Turnbull.
and then this is where it gets sticky for me. Like, okay, I'll tell you my. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Tick
Uh,
tock, tick tock. Pick a.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Nurse.
Okay.
But I would say that a close fourth to me, because we talked about it earlier, was Megan Carter for me.
Yeah, it's fair.
And
It's
like
fair. It's fair.
it's tough because I feel like we only see it in spurts, but when Sarah's at her 2014 Olympic level, there's very few players that can play like that. It's just whether she can stay healthy for a full season and perform like that. If that's the question. And if you're Troy Ryan, you believe you can get that out of her. So that's why you're putting her in your roster and you're keeping her here. I also think though that like there's a world where you you say to these three players is like you can't have everyone just be like, "Oh, tell the other teams you can't go." But I think if the one player on this list that we're protecting, you could like take a chance on is Sarah Nurse. Because you could say because Nurse could be like my family's in Ontario, specifically the Hamilton area.
Yeah, but
I've
does
I
she not want to
chose
play in the PWHL? That like she can say that, but
I
she
mean
doesn't have an option to
they
not
didn't play in a
play.
pro they didn't play in a pro league for how many
True,
years?
true.
So
Okay, but did we say our evil genius part two? Because this is going to affect my three as well for the same reason. I think my three are actually the same. Because although I would rather have Daryl Watts than Sarah Nurse, I think, did we say this already? I don't think we
yeah,
did.
we
Did
said
we
that
say that
Spooner.
Daryl, no, we said Spooner isn't going anywhere, but Daryl Watts, independent, free thinker, agent of chaos, I think is just the kind of person to do what you just said and say, I'm not leaving Toronto and I will retire or I will go to Sweden or I will just sit out a year. I think they might even have that conversation with her to make that decision on Nurse versus Watts. And I would love it. I mean, it's a very selfish way to look at it, but if Watts were to say, I don't care, because she was so happy to come to Toronto, like, so that's the evil,
Well,
the evil genius way to keep both Spooner and Watts.
she was always looking to the side at Toronto, and that's nothing to do with the franchise of Ottawa or their ability to perform.
Yeah.
They were right there in the mix till the last day to make the playoffs last year. They made the playoffs this year. They're not. Uh, all these teams are good teams. It was just that where she wanted to play. So
Yeah, and
I
she
think,
she wanted to be, she wanted to be closer to the heart of the Team Canada action. And but okay, so let's I mean, we do have to keep this under 2 hours. So let's so if those are our three, Fast, Turnbull, and Nurse, right away you're
who was your outs like I gave my like alternate pick, which was Megan
well,
Carter, as who would be your like next your runner up for those three?
if it's not Watts, because we're kind of giving her specials, it would be Watts, but if we're giving her special status, I love Gosling. I'd love to protect Kirk if there was just some way that that could happen, but I can't work out the math there. So I guess I'm just gonna say Gosling is kind of
But
my
I think luckily for us, I think Kirk's gonna go under the radar.
maybe.
Like if you've been doing your diligence on this league and you looked at the games Kirk started, you should be picking Kirk.
She's a heck of a goalie, but she ended the season in LTIR, and maybe she is just a little bit under the radar as far as
And the other
the
issue too is
Chulis and goalies like that that
that
teams will probably rather have.
this is a goalie week draft coming up. According to everyone that's actually paid attention to it, because I'll admit I'm not deep into the draft.
Everyone's
Uh,
thinking they're going to get Sani Ahola, and only one team can have her. So, okay, so then, and here's how the sort of ping pong balls work out for this. So you protect your three. Then, when you expose everybody else, your kind of theoretical next two good, next best players are taken. Period. Then you can protect one more. So we're going to assume, so if we're protecting Fast, Turnbull, and Nurse, we're going to assume Malte gets picked
and
and
Savannah
either
gets picked.
Harmon or
I mean,
she's an interesting case too because she's just underperformed and she's expensive. She's one of those 80K contracts. So I don't know if she's automatically. I think Gosling or Carter might be a smarter choice if you're a GM.
though I think I don't want to keep on going back to the post-season press conference, but like the reason I asked uh Renata about how she felt playing with Savannah Harmon, I think that's a big deal
True.
because if Troy can go into season knowing I have my top two defenders, we can figure everything else later.
Yeah, he
That's a big
trusts
deal.
them. He does trust them. Okay. So you're
And
saying, but now you're saying that's why she's gonna get taken.
well,
So
I feel like
can she replicate that if you're Seattle or Vancouver, do you take a chance that she can replicate that not with Renata Fast?
who do you like? I guess your question is who do you think that will be exposed is a better defender than her? And is there four of them that would allow her to skate through
Oh,
scot-free?
right. It's
And I don't know. I may like
some of these defenders are like your Ashton Bell, like your Neda Terrelova,
even going to like
yeah,
maybe Caleb Barnes
Ambrose
is
and Kayla
exposed.
Barnes. Yeah, like you're sort of like, what do you prefer? What are the connections? What are the
Do
contracts?
you want younger players? Do you want to have a more established core that's done it before? Like,
Seattle and Vancouver have to be feeling like we're in win now mode, dude, because we're getting like all these top names. We're just gonna like go for it. I would if
uh,
I were them.
and I also think like what's really weird about this expansion draft is like it's happening so early. Like it's happening in year three. Like let's just say that we're basically going to start year three when all this happens. Like year two ended, you know, the Walter Cup was handed out at that point, and then you have a week to sit down, as Troy says, to sit down, have a beer, and decide what you're going to do moving forward. And then, and then you got to just, and then after the all the pieces are have gone every which way, you got to decide what you're going to do. And if you're these teams, do you value like I think a Caleb Barnes is one of those players where it's like she helps you now and in the future.
Hmm.
Kind of like a Megan Carter I was talking about earlier.
I think the Kayla Barnes versus Aaron Ambrose conversation is real. Like, whether it's in your original three or whether it's that extra protected person you protect once say Laura Stacy. Well, you know, anyway, I think that's a conversation for their D. Like, I mean, Erin Ambrose, how do you just say, oh, let's just put her on the unprotected list? It's nuts, but you got to make these horrible decisions. Well, let's look at Montreal, just because of that. I mean, we're both not as close to their roster, but they've got some super interesting situations because they've got so many free agents. A couple of their bigger defenders are there. You know, their backup goalie is on their free agent list. So I think we pretty much agree they have to protect Poulin and Desbiens. Do you agree with that?
Like if you don't protect Debian, she's getting picked.
I know. So that, well, I
Unless
just think you
unless she,
have to. I just don't.
unless she pulls a Daryl Watts and she's like, I'm not leaving
Maybe.
Quebec.
Okay.
Screw you.
Maybe.
But then I guess like this is why I wish we also got to have a conversation with the league. Like, because everyone knew out in the open going to the draft that players could say, no, I don't want to go here. Is that allowed in this? Are players allowed to say, I'm not giving up my future in this league just because I don't want to go to this location? If that's the case, then that changes this completely because Debian's going to say, I don't want to, like, and maybe they limit that to a few players per team, like one or two players have the status where they can't leave for particular reasons.
I think the
But
league pushes back and says it's for 1 year. You have 1 year in your contract. You're gonna abide by the rules, and after that, you're a free agent. That's over and over again. We wanted a professional league. We wanted this. This is part of it.
yeah, then I guess like because then that's the case. Then I think maybe a Darryl Watts does go to those teams, and you take a gamble.
Okay, so
So then,
Poulin, Debian, and then who is it? Laura Stacy? Is it Aaron Ambrose? Is it Caleb Barnes?
for me, it's Kayla Barnes.
Is your one of your three protected?
She is one of my three protected because
So
I think
unprotected is Laura Stacy, Jennifer Gardner, and Aaron Ambrose. Two of which will get plucked very quickly. Then you can protect one more.
well, we all know the background of Laura Stacy and
Mhm.
how that would be difficult. But I didn't Poulin address that in a press conference that she said that they'd make it work and that this is what we signed up for when we became professionals.
I
I
didn't.
think I'm pretty sure someone asked that her midway through the season about, oh, the expansions draft's coming up. What happens if one of you gets selected? Which we knew they were talking about Laura, not Poulin. But
I think dollars to donuts, if that's still a phrase.
because like,
Kayla Barnes is more valuable, just like we were talking about. Defenders are more valuable. So even though Laura Stacy has made huge strides, if you're building
and
a team, you want a great forward, a great defender, and a great goalie. You
and
gotta.
I don't know how your rookie of the year voting shook up, and I don't know how much we're allowed to divulge about how we voted, but she was my second pick. Let me just put it to you like that.
She had a great year. Both her and Gardner.
She was second on my ballot.
Poor old Gardner is just. She's just at that level where she's not quite. She doesn't play the position to be protected, and she's got people ahead of her, and she's from Vancouver, so it's like
I
the
think
poor old Montreal fans that have fallen in love with Gardner and Barnes. She's gone. There's just I would bet my salary that Gardner is gone, and most likely Vancouver's gonna swoop in and have a conversation. And she's
good thing
probably
that
she's probably not unhappy to be in Vancouver, but yikes, she had a great year in Montreal, and she's fit in well.
no, I think she's. I'm not actually gonna say she was unhappy in Montreal, but she's happy to play in front of
Sure,
her family, her hometown.
sure.
There's got to be something said for that
Yeah,
in front of possibly 15,000 people.
yeah. That's an
That's
okay. Yeah, that's a happy ending for many of those people, but not for Montreal fans, that's for sure. And
oh
then,
well,
so who's going to be
what
left on Montreal's D when, I mean, Laskova might not get signed as a free agent because she's had injury issues, but Tabin and Keppel are free agents. If we're
but
assuming that Ambrose or
I
Barnes
I think
goes,
I think what saves them though is the fact that only four players can get taken and Chuli's going like
Chuli's a free
It,
agent, so oh
yeah,
yeah,
but
but that
she
still counts. That
counts.
counts. Yes, yes, yes.
I think that it truly is going to be taken. That's a
Probably. You're
certainty.
right. So that might save them having to choose between Ambrose and Barnes.
Because if Frankel and Debian and Schroeder get saved, and let's say Minnesota keeps both their goalies exposed because they decide, well, we didn't really have a number one anyways. We had a 1A, we had like a 1A, 1B. Like they were the same thing. We rotated through them. Hensley's a good goalie. Rooney's a good goalie. Like I think those are the two goalies that go off the board first is Hensley, Rooney. But then when you're filling in the gaps,
Chuli's
Chili's
Chuli's
through.
right up there with both of those. So I think your number one goalies in Seattle and
Unless like a
Vancouver, Mashmeyer, maybe a Mashmeyer and a
but then is Rooney going from a
Chuli
situation
or
where she's sharing the crease to being a backup? Because I don't know. I think if I'm getting Mashmeyer, she's my one.
yeah,
Like
but she's also
like
coming off a big injury. So don't you want to have a
yeah,
Reagan
but
Kirk or somebody behind her?
I think
Or Kristen Campbell behind her, I guess. That would be
like
a good duo.
I I don't know like because
As the podcast rolls into day two, we're still arguing over,
well no because like Mashmeyer got her was it December or Jan or
she'll
no it was
be
February.
okay, but look at Spooner coming off that injury. Like, that's a tough one. So you want to have a good backup. You can't afford to just have a kind of
No,
sophomore back.
but Kirk is a good. You and me both talked about this. Kirk is a great
She's
goalie.
good. I don't want to lose her. So let's say she's not really that good. Can I just say, like, I want to cheer for Seattle and Vancouver, but I'm going to be giving them like the side eye all year because of like all the just scot-free way that they waltzed in and grabbed so many good players. It just seems too easy. And
But
if
then
they're
again, you
really
could.
good, it's going to be just sort of interesting, but just hard to see some of your favorite players all just maybe the travel will just get to them. But
You could say that about the beginning of the year of Montreal though. Like, oh, guess who two of your three like foundational signings are? Aniré Desbiens and Marie-Philippe Poulin. You could have been like, well, that's unfair. Like, there's nothing like maybe you disagree with me. There's nothing special about these rules. Like, I thought they were gonna add a big like quirk to
yeah,
the
a
rules that I
twist, it's fun. Yeah,
like like
make it
maybe
fantasy
you
draft. Make it sort of make it somehow that the fans can buy in. This is just sort of hitting the fans over the head with like, we want parity, and I don't think this was like a well thought out hockey decision. Maybe business wise it makes sense, but that's too
I
bad. I don't think hockey wise and like marketing wise it's the best way to do it.
that's interesting. And then it also makes you think, well, if I was a GM last year at the draft, does that make me change who I draft? Because maybe Toronto looks at Julia Gosling and is like, we're drafting her not for this year, but for 2 years down the line.
Yep.
But now you don't have her 2 years down the line.
And you know what? Toronto doesn't have anybody signed after next year. And I think that had to be done with the notion, regardless of expansion, just knowing that that year was when things just blow up. Or, next time we chat, hopefully we can do this again, maybe in a week's time or so, just to see if there's any clarification from the league on some of those special situations, or whether there'd be any behind the scenes, wrangling or tampering or anything juicy like that might spring up and make things even more dramatic. But it's going to be like fasten your caps, sharpen your pencils. Lots to think about, at least for the month of June, right? I mean, it's going to keep us interested.
Every team's going to lose a top six level player, whether that's on defense, and you could change that to top four, or if you're looking at forwards in top six, or if you're looking at goalies and it's your number one. Like there is a world where every team's like this is going to hurt for every team, and who knows? I mean, I think you'll make a good product in the
Yeah.
end. Like Like Toronto and Montreal won't go out west and just get 2 automatic wins because they're made up of a bunch of bottom six
Yeah,
players and
yeah.
no real star power. But like you said, there's drawbacks and there's advantages to every decision you make. And
But we'll talk again, Curtis. Thank you for joining us today. I know this was like quick and we had to digest a lot and just try to make the best. So give us a break, please, if we didn't maybe get all the details right, because we're literally just reading it and kind of going through the fine print as well. And we will find out a lot more in this chat with the league management. But thanks for joining us, and we're probably writing articles, both of us, for the Hockey News. So check those out as well, and just stay tuned. More PWHL drama and excitement. Thanks for coming, Curtis.
yes, thanks for having me. It was a great
All right.
conversation.
Yeah. Talk to you later.